Hello everyone and welcome to today's lecture. So today we are going to discuss one again very important topic. Okay. And again we will be focusing more on the practical side of this particular topic. So like as we do till now, I will be expecting your full participation, your full from your side answers, so that you can get better understanding of this particular topic. Okay. And same way, if you have any doubts at any point in time, you can ask freely. You can, just type in and I'll be taking up those doubts. So when I talk about special aspects of auditing in an automated environment, okay, the topic that we are going to discuss today, basically it talks about, just I'll give you the brief background. It just talks about, how we can conduct audit in an IT environment, or environments, which are more automated, like the manual ones. We have a high-end system, ERPs and everything. So by, through the questions that we will be dealing today, we'll get more understanding about this particular area. Okay. We'll try to deep dive into the automated environments, the control in the automated environments, how auditor can plan his audit with respect to when he's, auditing in automated environment. Okay. So let's start today's lecture. Okay. Good morning, Sumit. Good morning, Viraj. So let's start with the first question for today. Just a minute. Let me do this way. Yeah. Sundar and Company was appointed statutory auditor of Super Payments Wallet Limited, a fintech company, for financial year ending 31st March 2023. While auditing, the audit team reached out to signing partner Mr. Sundar to understand whether the internal information policy already set up by the company is required to be tested and reviewed. So they are talking about a policy, which is internal information policy. Okay. So based on the policy, the data and communications are required to be divided into categories like public, internal, confidential, and personal or private. Based on the tagging, the automated systems within the company will apply relevant restrictions and rules with respect to data storage, transfer, retention, and purging. Mr. Sundar was of the view that this policy is a part of entity level control and is required to be evaluated. However, the audit team is not sure about the answer of signing partner. Kindly guide the audit team. Now, before we deep dive into this particular topic, okay, I want you guys to answer what is it entity level control that I'm talking about here. So what is an entity level control? Come on, guys. What is an entity level control? So when I talk about, let's say, okay, this is an entity level control. What do you mean by entity level control? What I can say, okay, this is an entity level control, this is not. How can I define an entity level control? Come on, guys. How can I define an entity level control? So those are the you can say types of ELC, entity level controls. But if I want to have a definition kind of, okay, how can you explain an entity level control? Okay, good, Janvi. Good. Come on, guys. We need to understand these particular topics so that we can understand, okay, how these are relevant when we come to the automated environment. Absolutely correct, Sumit. Very good. Come on, guys. I just received one or two answers till now. What is an ELC? If I talk about entity level control, what is an entity level control? How it is different from other controls? How do you think the ELCs are different from other controls? Come on quickly. Okay. So, in the current case, do you think this is an ELC, the control that we are talking about, internal information policy, is an ELC? Like you are required to test ELC, this particular one. If you are saying this is an ELC, then whether we are required to test, review this particular policy. So internal information policy, which tags the data and the communication within public, internal, confidential, personal or private. Okay. Do you think this is an ELC? Because partner is saying it is ELC, but audit team is not sure. So do you think this particular is an ELC? Come on, guys. Do you think this is an ELC and this is required to be reviewed? Good, Jamie. Very good. So, guys, see, think about, like, let's say, for example, if what is an ELC, then what this particular control is doing or policy is doing. Let's say, for example, a particular policy is there. Now, if that policy is being applied, then what is the role of that policy? Whether it is monitoring, it is reviewing, it is, doing something which is controlling, like, some activities, some classification, something. So if that policy is into that category, so whether I will classify that as an ELC or how it is applicable to a restricted level to whole organization, everything you need to consider when you are thinking about ELC. Okay, so you need to think first whether a particular policy, which is, let's say, for example, this internal information policy is an entity level control or not. If yes, then whether we are, as an auditor, are required to test this entity level control or not. So do you think we are required to test this particular policy or application of the policy? Do you think that we are required to test this particular policy? And this is not only applicable to this here particular scenario, entity level controls are also part of ICFCR. So if you see internal controls, internal financial controls or financial reporting, over there also this plays a very important role. Okay. So accordingly, we need to think about, because this particular concept is not limited to only IT audits. And we have already discussed this particular concept before also. Remember SA 315? Understanding the entity and its environment. Remember something from there, we need to understand the control environment present within an entity. Any correlation do you think might have with SA 315? Okay. So basically, if I talk about an entity level control, okay, entity level controls are such controls wherein, these controls are applicable across the organization. Okay, these are applicable across the organization from board and top management to the bottom. So they govern everything. Like for that particular category, they govern, all organization. Now, when I talk about entity level control, okay, they are, basically operating in such a way that they can cover the information which is flowing throughout the organization, and they are subjective by nature. When I say subjective means they depend upon, they depend like what type of information it is, what type of environment it is. So they are very much subjective by nature. You will find a different entity level control, in each category. That's why they require more professional judgment. Now there could be, some like Sumit, you gave the answer that there are two type of entity level controls. One are the direct ones, which directly operates at a higher level than the transaction level or the business level or the operations level, okay, to provide a comfort on the whole overall control environment. Could be business performance reviews, could be monitoring of effective controls by internal audit function. So let's say internal audit itself can be counted as an entity level control. Okay, some are indirect ELCs, which they do not relate to any specific business process or specific area, but they are standardized or structured in such a way that they create a control environment or they help to maintain a control environment. For example, policies, procedures, human resource policies, okay, internal information policy. So when I talk about internal information policy, I can say this is an indirect ELC because it establishes policy, procedure, some guidelines which controls a particular, which provides a control on a particular activity, not directly but indirectly. Here the control is that, like confidential information should not be leaked outside or should not be, accessed by any other person who is not required to have that access. For that, indirectly, this particular policy, requires a tagging, and based on the tagging, automated systems within the company will apply relevant restrictions and rules with respect to data storage, transfer, retention, and purging. For example, another example, there is a requirement of data storing. You should retain your data for 8 years at least. Okay, in some other regions, even outside India, you have a more retention period requirement. Somewhere it is less. Now, based on the tagging of the data, whether it's a public data, internal data, confidential or private or personal, that system will automatically decide how many years of retention policy will be applicable to this particular data. Let's say, for example, I market private or personal. Then that is not a business data. So there is no retention policy required to be applied. Whatever user decide, it's fine. But if it is confidential data, internal data, then I need to apply, the minimum retention policy requirement which is there. Accordingly, this particular internal information policy does not only, talks about transfer of data, but you can say storing, retention, purging, transfer, everything. So it is indirectly covering a lot of areas. That's why I'll say it's an indirect ELC. We understood, okay, this is an indirect ELC. Now the question comes is, if this is an indirect ELC, then are we required to test or review or evaluate this indirect ELC? So let's say, for example, I understood, okay, fine, this is an indirect ELC that we have indirect ELC, we have concluded, fine. Am I required to review when I will be performing the audit? That's the big question here. Let's say it is dealing with the data, but not any financial statement. What do you think? Is this required to be reviewed or not? When I will plan my audit, am I required to consider this particular policy for the evaluation in my audit plan or not? If you give an answer of yes, then why? I want answer, but like why? With why? What is the reason do you think that, okay, this is required to be there? Come on, guys. Do you think this is relevant and required to be included in evaluation? If yes, then why? If no, then again, what is the reason for your answer? Come on, guys. Do you think this is required to be covered? What do you think? Correct. Very good, Janvi. Very good. Good, Sumit. Basically, when I talk about ELCs, okay, so whether I want to consider that ELC or not, that depends upon at what level of precision that ELC is working. For example, okay, let's say there is a control, system control, which works across the all the systems and everything, which identifies, unauthorized accesses. So if there is an unauthorized access, that system will trigger and it will send an alert to everyone. If there is any authorized access across the network of applications and everything. So kind of an entity level control, IT control. Okay. Now, at what level of precision at that particular control is operating is very important. For example, there could be another control like, okay, segregation of duties. Okay, so user access reviews. So these are certain controls which, if we evaluate these controls, then what will happen is it will give us a sense of comfort or some comfort, okay, that these entity level controls are operating effectively, and because of them, there are other controls within the organization which have more benefit. Okay, let's say for example, if I say segregation of duty or user access review is working appropriately fine, there is no duplication or problem in segregation of duties. Okay, there is no problem with respect to user access review. So I can, just rule out, okay, there was no unauthorized accesses, at least in the system, because user accesses are appropriately reviewed, terminated at the time when they are required to terminate it. Number two, I could have a comfort with respect to the number of users which are appearing are appropriate or not. Like there is no super user up within the system. Okay, so there are certain controls which gives comfort, or I'd say they operate at that precision that they help to establish the fact that there could be less chances of a problem in certain other controls, small level lower level controls, or operation level controls. Because of them, I could have a comfort that okay, there could be some prevention and detection of misstatement at a timely level, so that by testing an ELC, I could scope out or reduce my scope of testing of certain controls on which it is impacted. So today, if I test an ELC, I could say, okay, for example, this is the ELC, I'll reduce my testing because I have a comfort on this ELC, and this control, is supported by ELC. Okay, so based on the comfort, based on the precision level that the ELC is operating, I could test, although it may be related to financial, non-financial both. But if at the end it is giving me a comfort directly or indirectly on a financial reporting process, I will consider it. For example, internal information policy. Okay, this gives me a comfort with respect to the compliance with relevant laws and regulations. Okay, now if a particular law or regulation is not compliant, then there could be a chances of penalties, fines. Remember, we have seen this discussed in multiple times. I need to consider law and regulation while planning my audit. Which was that particular topic that I'm talking about, considerations of law and regulation? Quickly, consideration of law and regulation during audit, where we discussed this particular topic. Correct, Janvi, very good. Essay 250. Essay 250, we discussed considerations of law and regulation in an audit of financial statement. At that particular point in time, data privacy laws are there into the picture, and these laws, if you do not comply with these laws, data retentions, if you do not comply with these laws, then in that case you could be you could be fined or heavily fined. I would rather say heavily fined. In that case, this helps me. Okay, there, like this gives me comfort on the compliance with the data privacy laws, or other data related laws. So yes, I will be testing this particular policy. I will be testing this, how it is working. I will evaluate. I will, pick up some samples, and based on the testing strategy, I will test and then get a comfort. Okay, this particular policy is there good. How this is giving a comfort, like, on other, at what precision level it is operating. And I will identify the controls. Okay, because of testing of this particular policy, on which other controls I'm getting a benefit. So yes, I will test because it will have impact on other controls, and over there I will get some level of comfort that okay, based on this ELC, there are less chances that this control might be missing out any prevention and detection of misstatement or fraud. Understood? Any doubts? Any doubt? So let's see the answers. Basically, the controls that operate across a company at all levels, that is from broad top management to the department transition level, are known as ELCs. Characteristics of ELC include: ELC are known as a pervasive control since they operate across all organizations level. ELC are the part of company's overall internal control framework and relate to the control environment other than the control activities. Entity level controls are subjective by nature and require application of more professional judgment in their evaluation and testing. Okay. Example of includes, like human resource policy that I talked about, ethics policy, employee jobs and roles and responsibility, etc. Then let's come to the topic of information and communication, because that is the main thing which is being dealt by this particular policy. As a part of understanding and evaluation of information and communication component of the control environment, the auditor is required to obtain understanding of how business process operate, how the relevant systems used in the processing of business transaction and activities, the risk and control pertaining to information systems and underlying infrastructure, reliability of the information generated from the systems, how it is retained, how it is stored, everything. While information communication is more relevant to the use of information system in a company, large and complex ERP environments like it is very likely that other components of internal control, that is control environment, risk assessment, control activities and monitoring, will also be relevant and important when I talk about communication and information. Okay. So based on this, I could say this particular policy becomes relevant because it is, part of my information and communication component of the control environment. Okay, then auditors are required to understand, evaluate, and validate the entity level control as a part of audit engagement. This results testing of entity level control could have an impact on the nature, timing, extent of other procedures, including testing of controls. So that was I was talking about, that ELC will have an impact. Testing ELC will have an impact on nature, timing, and extent of other audit procedures that you will be performing while performing your audit procedures. For example, when the ELC at a company are effective, the auditor may consider reducing the number of samples in the test of control. Where the auditor finds that ELCs are ineffective, they are not effective at all, I am not comfortable with the ELC, the auditor may consider to increase the rigor of the testing by increasing sample size. In small and less complex entities, the ELC may not be formally defined and documented, because these are small companies, less complex companies. In such situations, auditors should design audit procedures accordingly to obtain evidence of the existence and effectiveness of these ELCs. So that is about the ELC and how we are required to test and why we are required to test an ELC. Any doubt with this? Any doubt? If no doubt, then I have a doubt. I'll ask you. What is the difference between ITGC and ELC? So, what is the difference between ITGC and ELC? First of all, what is an ITGC? IT General Controls. What do you mean by IT General Controls? What are IT General Controls? Come on, guys. What are IT general controls? How they are different than the ELCs? What is IT general control? What are IT general control, guys? Good, Sumit. Very good. And what is the role of IDGC? Come on, guys. What I mean by ITGC and what is the role of ITGC? Very important, because this particular thing will give us a clarity of, auditing in an IT and automated environments. Trust me. Okay. Good, Janvi. Okay, Namrata, good. So, okay. When I talk about ITGC, okay, IT general controls, these are basically controls that support the operations of an application. Let's say ERP. Then, if I say ERP, IT general controls in case of ERP will be those controls which support the application's operation. So they support the operations of that particular application. Okay. When I talk about entity level control, they are present across entity. They are present across entity. Second, when I talk about ITGC, okay, ITGC is very helpful when I want to rely upon a particular system or that particular system. So ITGC helps in reliance on a particular system. When I talk about ELCs are more on the reliance on overall control environment. Usually when I talk about ITGC, okay, IT general controls, they could support my automated, they could support my IT dependent manual controls. Okay, they can support other controls also within the within that particular application. And if a particular ITGC is not appropriate, or if I say, okay, today I have tested this ITGC, but this ITGC has failed, then what will be the consequence of the failure of that particular ITGC on basically your what do you say, that application? Okay, so let's say today, for example, I'll tell you that okay, this is a particular ITGC. Okay, was the application, and this is the ITGC. This ITGC has failed. I'll say okay, this ITGC has failed. Then do you think you can rely upon that particular application? Let's say there is a ERP. I'm saying ITGC around the ERP has failed, or within that ERP has failed. What will you do? Can you rely upon that ERP now? Can you rely upon the ERP when the ITGC controls are not effective? Come on, guys. Do you think you can rely upon that particular system now? So ITGC around a particular, let's say ERP is there, or a system is there, and ITGC has failed behind that particular system. Now, what do you think? Can you rely? Okay, and why, Janvi, Sumit, Namrata? Why? What is the reason for your answer? What is the reason for your answer? Okay, let's understand this particular question, like this particular area with an example. That will be more helpful. Okay, so let's understand this with an example. Just give me a minute. Oh, I think there is some glitch at my end. Just a minute, sorry. Okay, here it is. So let's understand with a small example. A company has a small finance department. For the accounting processes that have a higher risk of misstatement, senior manager performs a number of business process reviews and analysis to detect misstatement in the transaction processing. Okay. The company has a small IT department that supports a packaged financial reporting system whose software code cannot be altered by the user. So, understand, there is a company has a small finance department. Okay. Account for the accounting processes that have a higher risk, senior management performs a number of business process reviews. Okay. Company has a small IT department that supports the packaged financial reporting system, but whose software code cannot be altered. So the software code of the particular that software that they are using cannot be altered. That is same. Okay. Now, since the company uses package software, there has been no change to the system or process in the past year. The IT general controls relevant to the audit of the internal financial control are limited to certain access control and certain computer operations control related to identification and correction of processing errors. Management uses several system generated reports in the business performance review, but these reports are embedded in the application and programmed by the vendor and cannot be altered. Okay, so you do not have an option to alter the software. You cannot see the software code. Okay, there are certain reports which are system generated reports. Okay, but they are embedded in the application program by the vendor and cannot be altered. Now you have certain application, you have certain controls, but you cannot see the logic and software of that particular what do you say, application. So you cannot see that particular software logic of that application. I can have ITGC. I think, okay, there are certain reports I can see, but I don't have the logic behind that reports. Okay, I don't have a logic behind reports. Then how will you test ITGC in this environment? What you will do? So in this environment, I don't have an access to the logic of a system. how can I get a comfort of ITGC? What do you think? So basically, when I talk about such environments, like this is a scenario that I was talking about. When I talk about such environments, I have access ITGC control, but I cannot determine their effectiveness because of some limitations or because of some what do you say, some issues. Then in that case, if there is another control dependent upon that ITGC, or if there is a system which is dependent upon the ITGC, will get impacted. I need to evaluate separately that even after ITGC, whether that control or that area is functioning appropriately or not, which is in case of IT is very difficult, but yes, I need to evaluate that. Okay, so for example, when I talk about a ITGC control, okay, now what will happen is I will say, okay, this application is there which is supported by this ITGC control, and this ITGC control is not performing well. In that case, it may come up with me that, okay, I cannot rely upon the data of this application. I cannot rely upon the data which is being produced by this application or which is being entered into this application or processing of data by this application, because the control around ITGC is not appropriate. Classic example I'll give you. I'm not sure how many of you have seen ERPs, but but in certain, let's say for example, there is an ERP. Okay. Now, can an ERP accept single entry? Answer is no, usually. That's a control in ERP. You should have a debit or credit. What if I can post, only one side of manual journal entry, like only debit or credit effect. If I can post one side of manual journal entry, then that's an issue. And that is, I'm talking about ITGC, IT general controls along the application, that it should not accept such kind of, commands or actions or data, which is not allowed, like, which can raise a doubt or, which can give that there could be a chances of misstatement. If I can do that, in that case, even if my balance sheet is tallied, still there could be risk of offsetting error. Do you know what is offsetting error? That okay, difference of one error is setted by, is offsetted by difference of another error. So in that case, it could be possible because I can delete one side of the MJ, and I have seen, like in my practical, I could say experience, I have seen one such ERP where you can delete one side of an entry. Let's say, for example, sales entry, you can delete the impact of data. So you will only just see impact in the sales account. Those kind of systems, other examples I'll give you, like, okay, you can enter, entry in the previous years, even once they are logged. You can change the data of previous years, even though, it shouldn't be allowed, that you are not allowed to enter any entry into the period which has gone. But if you can do, then there is a chances of unauthorized alteration of the data or access to the data. So if these controls, IDGC controls around the IT systems are not effective, I cannot get a comfort on a particular IT system. I have to perform other procedures to gather more data. Okay, so when an ITGC fails, if ITGC is not effective, auditor is required to evaluate the impact on, you can say, application and other financial information which is coming from that application, other financial information of that application. So whatever data is being stored in that ERP, I will always have a doubt. When a ELC fails, okay, when a ELC fails, if a ELC is not effective, then the auditor is required to review other controls which were operating at processing level, operating at lower levels. See, in case of ELC, if an ELC gets failed, I still have controls which were operating at the lower level or the transactional level or the activity level. Still, I can get a comfort from, from those controls. But when I talk about IDGC, if IDGC fails, then depending upon, again, the type of the control or the type of the problem or misstatement or, the deficiency I have identified, it could create a big issue with respect to the IDGC. Absolutely, Sumit. Very well. Yeah, very well said. System itself should not allow any single entry. But if someone has compromised the code of the system, logic of the system to allow any single entry, means there was unauthorized access. Now, if I can access to the code, I can have an unauthorized access to the code. I can have unauthorized access to the data. There is no integrity of the data, and that will be a problem. That will be a problem. So if I talk about ITGC and ELCs, they are different. Like most of people think, okay, IDGC is, ELC of application, but that is not the case. IDGCs have a different role and ELCs have a different role. For example, security and access. When I talk about examples of ITGC, I could say security, access, logical of computer input output operations, okay, system development, system changes. I could have ITGC control around specific applications, specific report generation related, end user related. So a lot of ITGCs can be there. And testing ITGC is more important because it will give me comfort on the application on which I'm going to rely. Any doubt with respect to this? Any doubt, guys? Do you understood the difference between an ITGC and an ELC? Did you understand the difference between ITGC and ELC? Okay. So to summarize, okay, ITGC are the controls which are, linked to the operation of that application, input, output, processing. Okay, they are, you can say, control around that particular application, which helps which helps the application to operate effectively. Okay, when I talk about entity level control, they are the pervasive in nature and they are present across entity. They help in building a good control environment. So from entity level control, I can get some comfort around other controls which are present in an entity. So they are the higher level controls which spans across the organization, like the policies. But when I talk about ITGC, they could be related to one specific application or general IT systems or the IT environment. So ELC is a more wider when it comes to the application. ITGC is specific to IT systems. ITGC helps to build a reliance on a particular system, when ELC provides comfort on the overall control environment. Okay, or they provide comfort or some kind of comfort that when I will test a lower level control, I will use that comfort to reduce my testing or sampling, or you can say save my time over there. If a ITGC is not effective based on the misstatement or deficiency that I have identified, it will create a big reliance issue over that particular system. So when an ITGC control is not effective around the application, I need to test a lot to build comfort and reliance on that particular application, or I cannot directly rely upon the data which is coming out of that system. Again, that is based on the deficiency. But when I talk about ELC, if the ELC is not effective, then I need to test the lower level controls to get the comfort that I was supposed to get. Okay, so that is the basically difference between ELCs and ITGCs. So ITGCs are specific to IT systems. ELCs span across organization. They both are different. I cannot say that it's a subset. And their role is also different. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt with respect to this? Okay, we have understood ITGC. Now let's say, for example, you were asked to understand the entity's IT environment. Okay, now you were asked that, okay, if you want to conduct an audit, what activities what areas you will understand to understand the entity's IT environment or automated environment. So I'll say what areas or important key elements. What key elements an auditor is required to understand which key elements or what areas an auditor is required to understand, okay, to gather understanding about the entity's automated environment. To gather understanding about the entities automated environment. So basically, you need to provide me some areas or key elements that you will understand when you want to, gather the understanding of the IT systems, IT environment, automated environment of the entity. So what things you will look for? What things you will look for when you want to understand, how the entity's automated environment is structured? What things you will look for? Come on, guys. What things you will look for when you want to understand the entity's automated environment? Good, Janvi, very good. What elements you will understand or what areas you will understand to gather an understanding about the entity's automated environment? So you need to apply SA 315 here. And you need to list down the areas that you will understand, the key areas or key things that you will understand to gain the understanding of automated environments. What you will understand, what you will look for to gain the understanding. Okay, today I'll tell you this is an entity, this has an automated environment, ERPs and everything. Get the understanding as per SA 315. Okay, obtaining an understanding of the business environment. So I ask you to go and perform the business understanding. What things you will look for? Apart from the processes and the business and everything, with respect to the automated environment, IT systems, what things you will look for to gain an understanding? Correct, Sumit. Very good. Come on, guys. What you will understand, very important. Come on, guys, quickly. I'm waiting for your answer. What do you will look for when you want to gather an understanding about the entity's automated environment? Correct. Good. Good, Namrata. Okay. So when I am looking for automated environment, the elements that I'll try to understand, okay, and get an understanding about will be first. I will look for the applications that are used by the company. Okay, which applications they are using. Then I'll go. I'll see what is the IT infrastructure for each that application. IT infrastructure for each application, like what infrastructure is required to that application to work appropriately. Okay, IT infrastructure around that application required for that application. Then how the organization structure and governance structure is there. So I will see what is the organization structure or governance structure supporting these both. When I say organizational structure or governance structure means who is responsible for which application. Whether we have a chief information officer, like, okay, who is looking after the governance of this particular applications, who is looking after for the validations of IDGC, who is looking after for the controls within the within the applications. So governance and organizational structure around the ID applications. Then what are the policies and procedures defined by the company? Policies and procedures, okay, defined for IT applications, for applications basically. What is the policy and procedures defined? Then I will say, based on the policies and procedures, what are the IT risk and control identified? IT risk and controls identified by entity. Based on this, I will build up my understanding. First, I'll start with an application. Okay, this is an application. So this application requires certain infrastructure around it to work. Okay, this is an infrastructure required. Now these both, which like who is responsible for these applications and infrastructure? What is the organization structure whether they have a IT team, whether they have a IT, governance team, or what is the structure, whether there's a IT audit team. Okay. Then what is the policy procedure or processes defined for these particular IT structures and IT organizations? Once I will have the policy procedure around that particular application, then in that case, what will be the scenarios? I'll go and I'll see what are the risks within that process, policy, procedure, or within that IT application, and what are the controls the entity itself have identified with respect to that IT application, so that I will get a holistic approach of the IT environment. I hope it is clear. Any doubt with respect to this? Any doubt, guys? No? Okay. Now, once I decide, okay, this is how I need to understand the entity's environment, then I need to perform some, testing with respect to the understanding that I have gathered around the controls. Okay. Now, just one thing, when I consider then an automated environment, okay, when I see an automated environment, am I required to consider the automated environment in my audit planning only, or I need to consider the impact of automated environment at my each phase? So basically, when you are defining an audit approach, okay, planning, execution, and completion, you define your audit approach in these 3 phases. I plan for the audit, I execute the audit, and when I'm completing, I draft the report. I consider the applications, I consider the impact of automated environment at all the 3 phases, not only one planning phase, but all the 3 phases. Okay. Now, when I talk about applications, controls, and everything, there is another topic I want to discuss is IPE, information produced by the entity, or information generated through IT systems. Okay. Information IPE through IT. Information produced by entity through IT. Okay. Now, if I talk about this particular area, and very important concept, I'll say, okay, when we need to understand how much important it is, like what I need to do. So let's say, for example, you have been given an automated, or you can say automatically produced data's aging list from ERP. Okay, every month the ERP produces a data staging list. Now that list has been given to you as a part of audit information that you inquired. Okay, how will you validate this particular data aging list? How will you validate IPE produced through IP? Now, as an auditor, specify that how to validate or obtain understanding about validating IPE. So I want to validate IP that is generated through IT systems. How to validate that? What I need to do to validate this particular IP? What you will do to validate a data staging listing which is directly coming out from the ERP without any intervention. So ERP calculates itself and it has given you the listing. What you will do to understand whether this listing is appropriate or I can use that listing and complete, what you will do? What is the auditor's role with respect to these IPs? As an auditor, what is your role over here? Come on, guys. I give you a data aging listing. What you will do with that? You will directly use it. Will you directly use the data staging listing? Come on, guys. Okay, good, Janvi. Sumit, how you will perform that? Okay, Namrata. Let's say I have, based on the data staging, okay, I want to calculate my bad debt provision. Based on that data staging, I want to calculate my bad debt provision. How will you ensure that, like what steps you will do to understand whether I can calculate the bad debt provision or not? See, this is the topic that we are discussing. It's bit of IT, bit of automated environment, but they are basically or majorly, I'll say, based on the standards that you have studied. It's not something different or new that we are studying. It is the application of those standards only for an automated environment. So if you see those standards, let's say, for example, I talk about SA 315. It is the same. We are applying those concepts, 315, 330, just in an automated environment. There is nothing different here. Okay. Okay, Sumit. So my question is, I have been given a list by the ERP or the system of data staging. Can I take that list and use directly to calculate the data staging provision or data's provision, bad debt provision? A list has been given of data staging from the ERP to me directly. Can I take that list and directly calculate the aging provision, or I need to do something first before I go to the bad debt provision? What do you think? Do I need to perform something first, or I can directly go and go for the bad debt provision calculation? Come on, guys. Uh, Third party confirmation, I don't think so that is relevant to the IPE. No. Credit profile of data and verification through bank statement, again, no. What you will do if I have given you the data's aging listing? Okay, this is the aging listing. Now go and verify bad debt provision. You need to verify the bad debt provision that has been calculated. What you will do with the aging listing first, or you will directly go and verify the data aging bad debt provision. So again, the concept of ITGC is coming into the picture. Trust me. So let's say, for example, data aging is there. Okay. So when I want to validate that data aging, in that case, IPE or data aging listing. Okay. No CIBIL score. No. So when I want to validate the data aging listing that is I'm getting from ERP, I directly cannot use that listing. No, I shouldn't be. There are few things that I need to first understand about that data aging listing. First, what is the source data? From where it is coming? From which system it is coming? Which IT system is there? Based on that, I will understand, okay, who has access to that IT system, and whether there is any unauthorized changes to that system. This both I can say it is ITGC. So around that system, I will see what is the ITGC available. Number two, report logic. If I'm using data's aging listing, from which date it is calculating the aging? That is very important. What is the logic of the report? I need to understand the logic, the formulas, algorithm, anything which is there in that particular report or used to generate that report. Whether it is taking the debit balance or debit credit net both, or only credit balance. Which data she is taking, whether it is taking intercompany, whether it is taking data, like where we have already yet to provide the details or something, retention is there or something like that. What kind of data it is selecting? What kind of balances it is selecting? What if it is also selecting creditors along with the debtors? How can you ensure that, okay, what information it is being picked unless and until you don't understand the logic behind that report? To understand the logic, I need to understand, is there any parameters that are entered while generating the report? If no, then what parameters the system is taking? So either a person will enter a parameter, either the system is taking the parameter. So manually entering the parameters, or automated fetching of parameters, you can say, auto fetching of parameters. In both of the cases, I need to understand what parameters were entered to generate the report. Let's say, for example, I need data aging listing. What if the listing is only taking your current transaction, but it is not showing aging of your opening balances? So accordingly, I need to check for the report logic and the parameters. Once I'll do that, I need to ensure CNA of the report, completeness and accuracy of the report. If I have comfort on these three things, source data, report logic, and completeness and accuracy of the report, I'm fine. I'm good to go. I'm good to go. I can use that report. I have a comfort then on the report, and I can use for any purpose. How will I understand the report logic? Okay. To understand the report logic, you need to test that particular report. And when I talk about testing the report, let's say I'll pick up one particular data. Okay, I will pick up one particular data out of hundreds or thousands, whatever it will be. I'll recalculate the aging. And based on that, whatever aging I will come and the aging which is there in the report, I will match it both. And from that, I can get a comfort. Okay, the logic of the report is appropriate while calculating the aging. So when I talk about completeness and accuracy, again, report logic or completeness and accuracy, to ensure the completeness and accuracy, I'll perform some test over report. Okay, for example, total data are 1000. Whether my report is giving me 1000 data or not, complete or not. Even completeness comes from input output. Let's say, for example, on screen you are seeing that there are 1000 data in the listing, but when you are exporting a report, you are getting only 500. Why? Completeness is not just in the report, but with respect to the output also. So if I'm seeing on the screen, fine, within the system, it is showing me fine, but whether the same is in the output or not. So completeness and accuracy of the output is very, very important. The report logic within the system, what is showing on the screen is very important. And the source data from where the information is flowing to the system, again, important point. If you have comfort on these three, you can use the report. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Any doubt? Are you clear with the concept that we are discussing over here? Are you clear with the concept that we are discussing over here, guys? This is nothing but application of SA 315, trust me, and 330. Whatever I'm discussing is just the application of standards in an automated environment, for an automated environment. There is nothing new that I'm discussing. There is nothing different of it I'm discussing. All these are part of already standards. Okay, good. If no further doubts, what I suggest is let's take a quick 10-minute break, and after the break, we'll gather back and continue the session. Okay, let's take a quick 10-minute break. welcome to the lecture. Welcome back. So let's continue the discussion. Okay. Now let's take one more question on very important and good question, I'll say. Okay. In continuation of the above example, the example that where we discussed about, IT control, like information policy and everything. Okay. In continuation to this particular example, the audit team was not sure how to apply the materiality in case of information system audit. Like when they are auditing the information system, how to apply materiality. For the financial transaction, overall materiality was 550.25 crores and performance materiality was 25 CR. You need to guide the audit team with respect to the application of materiality while auditing the IT systems or auditing in automated environment. So, what do you think? Like how to apply materiality when you are auditing the IT systems? How will you apply the concepts of SA 320? If I'm auditing an IT system, how will I apply? Or another area, I will not apply because materiality might not be applicable in IT audit, IT system, when I'm validating the IT system. Both cases can be possible. Like SA 320 is not applicable in case when you audit the IT system, or if it is applicable, then how will you apply? First, so let's deal with one by one. Whether SA 320 is applicable when you are auditing IT systems or you are auditing in an automated environment. So when you are, evaluating the IT systems, whether SA 320 will be applicable or not. How will you apply SA 320, or either it is not applicable? Whether it is applicable or not. Come on, guys. Whether SA 320 is applicable or not. Whether SA 320 is applicable when you apply or when you evaluate the IT systems or not. Will you apply the concept of SA 320 or not? Come on, guys. Pretty much easy. You need to just refer to the, provisions, or I could say, the guidance which is given in SA 320. That's it. Based on that, you will be you will be able to answer easily this particular question. Come on, guys. Okay. Now, most of you have answered yes. I want to understand now. If you say yes, then how will you apply the concepts of materiality with respect to auditing in an automated environment? Is there what you will like? How will you calculate the materiality, or how will you apply the materiality when you are evaluating an IT system? If yes, then how? In financial transactions, if anything misstatement I identify, which is either above my performance materiality in total, or in aggregate or individually, or it is above my overall materiality, then I could say, okay, there is a material misstatement. With respect to the IT system, how can you say there is a material misstatement? Based on which thing you will identify, okay, this is material. What will be material for you when we are talking about IT systems, automated environment? What will be material? Come on, guys. What you will consider material when you are talking about IT systems or automated environment? Come on, guys. How will you apply the concept of materiality when I talk about? Because see, till the time you won't understand the concept. I want everyone to try at least. Good, Namrata. Good. at least I'll suggest you guys to try. Reason because the moment you will try, you will understand that, okay, my concept is getting, more clearer, or I am getting the things. So when I will be discussing the answer, you can correlate with your answer and you can see, okay, where I'm going and whether my understanding is correct or not. So I'll suggest please at least try, so that, you can understand, the concept. It will, trust me, enhance your clarity about that particular concept. So it will really enhance your clarity about the concept. If you give a try, I'll, trust me, you will, understand, okay, how actually things are working. Okay. See, the concept of materiality in case of financial audit is based on values and volume. Okay. Means what I do is, when I identify a financial misstatement in financial transaction, I see the amount, see the impact of that particular financial transaction to understand the materiality. Okay, to understand whether the transaction or the misstatement is material or not. And when I talk about a particular control, okay, so I see the relevant error, discrepancy, or the control weakness that is being detected. So with respect to the control, when I say there is a, we have already seen, okay, in SA 265, where we are required to communicate deficiencies in internal control. Okay, over there we have already seen what is significant deficiency in internal control. Now, when you apply the concept of materiality, like, on the controls, we don't say a material misstatement with respect to the controls, we say significant deficiency in internal controls. Okay, a deficiency in internal control. Now, if your deficiency, which is there in the internal control, is, in itself or in combination, is of such nature that it requires an attention, it becomes a significant deficiency. Okay, in respect to the misstatement, when a particular misstatement individually or together with the other misstatements is of such nature that it requires, that much attention, or is it impacting the financial statement, which is above your performance materiality or overall materiality, then in that case it becomes a material misstatement. Okay, so any misstatement which is above your materiality threshold will, impact your opinion, financial opinion, opinion on your financial statement. Now that is with respect to, you can say, with respect to the normal audits, your financial audits, that is there when financial transactions. When I talk about with respect to laws and regulations, okay, one is the financial, one is a compliance, and compliance means laws and regulations. So when I talk about materiality concept in case of laws and regulations, the impact of non-compliance will give me the understanding, okay, of materiality. What is a material, whether the non-compliance is material or not, I can identify based on the impact of non-compliance on my business, on my operations. Okay, so that will be based on that, I will be, deciding material. Now, when I come to systems audit or audit of system, at that particular point in time, when I want to understand what is material, I'm not required to see the financial, I'm not required to see the, the non-compliance. But at that point in time, what I will see is the consequence or the effect of any deficiency or misstatement I have identified while testing the system. So I will evaluate the risk in terms of potential loss. So when I will be, extending the materiality concept to the systems audit, I need to see the effect of any misstatement or deficiency identified, or the consequence of the deficiency or misstatement identified on other things, other processes, other operations, and the terms of potential loss or the risk which is getting by that particular deficiency or misstatement. So yes, misstatement, or as you will apply the concept of materiality when you are looking for the basically IT systems and audit. Okay, and materiality, and if I say material with respect to the systems, is something material means that the effect or the consequence of not being there of that particular item, or effect and consequence of that misstatement or deficiency is such that it poses high risk onto other processes or in terms of potential loss. Okay, so based on that, I can apply the concept of materiality to systems. Clear? Absolutely correct, Janvi. Basis of the risk, the potential impact of misstatement onto my controls, onto my other processes, onto the testing that I have performed, or the data on which I'm relying. If that is a scenario, based on that, I need to assess whether it's a material or not. And accordingly, all the things will be there. I will be communicating with what do you say, governance, those charged with governance, and all the requirements will be there. But the concept of materiality will be based on the effect or consequence of that misstatement or deficiency onto other processes, or the risk that is being generated by that misstatement or deficiency. Any doubt with respect to this? Any doubt? So let us see the answer basically. The concept of materiality in case of financial audit is based on value and volume of the transaction and relevant error or discrepancy or control weakness detected. In case of regulatory audit, materiality is based on impact of non-compliance, and in case of information system audit, materiality is based on the effect and consequence of the risk in terms of potential loss. Hence, materiality varies based on the scope and objective of the audit and or specific auditing environment. Now, again, materiality is totally based on the professional judgment. Okay, whether a particular information is material or immaterial, it's based on the the use of that information you are going to do for your audit. I can rely upon that information, or let's say for example, 1,000 customers. The report was only reflecting 980 customers. Will you think this is material? Now, there is a difference what was there in the system and what was there in the report. So this is output of the report. This is out within system. Do you think this is material? Do you think this is material? Out of 1,000 customers, 980 customers were only there in the output of report. Do you think this is material? on guys, do you think this is material for me? Can I say this is material issue for me or not? Out of 1,000 customers, which is there within the system, the report is only showing me 980 customers. It is not showing me 20 customers. Percentage wise, it's only 2%, like 2% problem. 2% customers are not reflecting. % customers are not being reflected. So do you think it's a problem for me? Good journey. And Sumit, why do you think it's a material? Good, very good. Good, Sumit. So there are two part or two aspects of this particular issue. One, that is why the 20 customers are not getting reflected. Let's say, for example, those 20 customers, like there could be multiple reasons. Let's say, for example, those 20 customers are not getting reflected because they are, let's say, for example, into some other mapping, because of mapping, or because of because of, let's say, for example, they are into some other mapping or head, okay, or classification. If I get the reason, and based on the reason I can identify, okay, because of this particular head is not getting reflected, and that's why these 20 customers are missing, I can still say, okay, rest all heads are being reflected. For the rest of the heads or categories, I can rely upon this report. Now, the second aspect of this is the value of those 20 customers. Now, what if they are zero balanced? Means there is no balance in that customer, and because of that they got into different classification, or they became inactive, dormant, and that's why the report was not showing. Now, if that is a scenario, then in that case it is not material for me. But what if I say the value of these customers, okay, this is one of the example where I could, based on both, I could say, okay, this is not material. The reason I could say not material. But what if it was a random 20 customers that were not reflecting? Random. There was no linkage with any mapping, any classification, anything. And when I talk about, let's say, amount, it is nearly, you could say 40% of data of total receivables. In that case, if this is a scenario, I could say not material. But if that is a scenario, I have to say it is material. So in case of system audit, I have to see what is the impact, potential impact of that particular error or problem that is being faced, of that deficiency. What is the potential impact? If this is a scenario, then my system's comfort is gone. I will not rely upon the report because I don't know. I cannot correlate why the 20 customers are missing. 40% of the data are missing from the value terms. Although it may be 2% from the total count terms, but 40% from the value terms. Plus, I cannot establish a relationship. Why these 20 customers? Tomorrow I fill a different report, then some different 20 customers are missing. So in that case, based on the error, based on the deficiency, based on the thing, I need to validate what is the reason, what is the potential impact of that particular error. Now, whether this particular report or issue is material to the whole financial statement, that will depend upon other things. For example, if based on this report I was calculating bad debt provision, which is itself is not that much material to the whole financial statement, doesn't matter if this report is I'm not getting appropriately, I'll perform some alternate procedures. But if this report was a critical report for me, if this report was material with respect to the whole financial statement, then yes, this would become a material misstatement, or you can say significant deficiency also. So I need to assess the impact or potential loss, and based on that I need to define whether it's material or not. There is no one single answer. Okay, above this level material, below this level not material. It's a professional judgment. Any doubt? You guys clear with this? The concept of materiality being applied to the system audit or automated environment. Any doubt? Okay. I'll give you another example to discuss. Let's say, for example, there is an unauthorized change to the system. I cannot say this is a material problem, material misstatement or a problem for me. But the change to which system, which code or which area, and what is the impact after the change will decide the materiality of that particular problem. If I identified an unauthorized change, by default, I cannot say that's a material problem for me, material misstatement for me, or a deficiency for me. That's a significant deficiency for me. But what is the impact by that change? Which systems are getting impacted? Which numbers of the financial statement are getting impacted? What is the impact of that unauthorized change on the financial reporting will decide whether the issue that I have identified in the automated environment is material or not. So to link the expected or you can say dependent areas and impact of that particular observation. Clear? Any doubt? Doubt? Yes, no. Any questions? Is it clear? No. Okay. I'll take it as there is no doubt, it is clear. So let's move to the next topic, next section for today. Now we know the use of data analytics is pretty much there. Okay. So the use of data analytic tools and techniques help the auditor to improve the audit approaches, unlike the traditional approach, which is based on cyclical process involving manually identifying controls, performing tests, and sampling a small population to measure effectiveness. In this scenario, list down certain areas where data analytics can be used by statutory auditor. So you need to list down certain areas where where a statutory auditor can use data analytics techniques during audit. Where you can use data analytics. So list down certain areas where data analytics can be used by statutory auditor. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Where you can use data analytics techniques. As in statutory auditor, where you can use data analytics techniques. And I don't need answer like in planning, in execution, and in completion. No. Be more specific. I can say I can use data analytics during audit. That covers everything. One answer for all. I would request to be more specific with respect to the data analytics. If I usually say, okay, data analytics in planning, then where in planning? If you say in execution, then where in execution? Good, Sumit? Okay, good. Where data analytics or analytical procedures can be used. Not copy paste directly from study material, please, guys. Do not copy paste, please. See, today, if you want, you will copy, you will answer that is there, fine, perfectly fine. But in exam, you will not have this option available, trust me. Good, Namrata. Janvi, other than this, do you think any other area will be there? Good, Sumit. But again, that is not part of statutory audit. Very much good, because in forensic accounting, fraud investigation, we use heavily on data analytics. We heavily rely upon data analytics and other techniques. But when I talk about statutory audit, like again, fraud investigation, forensic accounting, different. Come on, guys. where you would be using data analytics. If I want to use data analytics, where I can use, like, what are the areas? And I don't want a copy paste answer from the study material or something from LinkedIn. Try to answer in your own words and see whether you are able to do it or not. Reason because in the exam, you won't be having the study material with you. At that point in time, Control C, Control V will not give you any benefit. Like there will be no option to do that. Good, Sumit. Good, Janvi. Good, Yedu Gunalu. Correct. Good, good, Namrata. Come on quickly, guys. There can be a lot of areas, lot of think. You can identify n number of areas where you can apply data analytics. Trust me, n number of areas. There is no limit of that. I just want you to think and answer as much as you can. Because then you will understand, okay, I can apply data analytics here. I can apply data analytics here. This is the area. This is the area. So you will think, you will gain an understanding. Okay, here we can use data analytics. Good, Sumit, very good. Okay, so one answer I have received is customer spending pattern. One I have received is procurement of material. One I have received is where there is a manual intervention required, like data staging. Come on, guys. This is, I'll again say, analytics can be used at a lot of places. There is no restriction on the answers. Top selling products region wise, very good. By understanding customers spending pattern or top selling product region wise, you can at least predict a trend analysis for the sales. Okay, you can say, okay, this is the top selling product within the region. This is a particular sale trend which is matching. Okay, fine. You can see the product or price mix, and based on that you can say, okay, what could be my profitability. I'm selling more of that product which is heavy priced or which has a good profit margin. Okay, customer spending pattern throughout the year, I can see the customers are spending more, purchasing more and more from us. So I can expect a sales trend. Very good. Where else? Where else you would use data analytics? I want to like it should be with respect to statutory audit. Good, Namrata. Assessing the profitability, like performing the data analytics to you could say substantive analytical procedures to understand the profitability year on year or something like that. Trend analysis. So there is one question: can we write these points in exam? Since it's not as per the module or study material. See, when I talk about study material, okay, if you read in the study material itself, they have given you the example, okay, some examples to explain you the concept. It is not like that, okay, these are the only example. Where there is a limited examples or the application cases, it is specifically mentioned. But where there are many, it is specifically included. Like, it is written that, okay, these are certain examples. These are certain examples of where you can apply data analytics. Or if you read the line that the auditing in an automated environment, auditor can apply concepts of data analytics for several aspects of an audit, including the following. So that's an example which is given to you. It's not like that, okay, this is the line, 5 points, that's it. Wherever there is a specific restriction, okay, for example, steps of a particular, how to apply data analytics, there's a steps given. Or let's say, for example, some other things are given. Okay, let's say, for example, in which scenario you can, use key audit methods or something like that. At that particular point in time, I could say, okay, there are restricted cases under which you can use this particular area, and where there is a specifically in the study material itself provided. But where it is given that, okay, it is, these are the examples, then it's not a problem that if you write your own example. Okay, let's see the answer. I'll give you some additional examples other than which are listed. Determination of the operational effectiveness of the current control environment. You can perform risk data analytics for this. Determination of effectiveness of anti-fraud procedures and controls. Identifications of business process improvements, efficiencies in the control environment and errors. Identifications of exceptions or unusual business results. Identifications of fraud. Sumit, you already included this one. Identifications of area where poor data quality exists. So you can perform data analytics to identify whether the data is good or not, for the further testing. Performance of risk assessment at the planning phase of our audit. You guys have already covered, right? Which is already there. Comparing logical access files with human resource employee master files for authorized users. Means, let's say, for example, I have a system access log. These people can access the system. I'll compare that system access log with the HR records to understand, okay, these are the employees. There is no additional access other than the employees. Comparing file library settings with the data from change management system, dates of file changes that can be matched to the dates of authorized event, system exchange, system changes and everything. Reviewing table or system configuration or setting, I can use data analytics for that. Reviewing system logs for unauthorized access or unusual activities, I can again use data analytics for that. Testing system conversion or migration. A lot of areas are there where you can use data analytics, and these are some examples. I'm again saying this is not the only example, some example that I could produce. Role-based access, absolutely correct. So this is how I can use, these are the areas where I can use data analytics. If I want to use data analytics, How can I use? Let's say, for example, for a particular area, I want to use data analytics. Okay. Then what procedure I need to follow, or statutory auditor rather than statutory auditor, what procedure statutory auditor needs to follow to perform data analytics? What procedure a statutory auditor needs to follow to perform the data analytics? If I give you, okay, a particular area where you need to perform data analytics, what you will do? How will you perform data analytics? For auditing purpose. Come on, guys. How will you perform data analytics for auditing purpose? Okay, what things you will do? I know I can perform data analytics for these areas, but how to perform data analytics? We have already discussed this thing in one of the topic. There is nothing new here. I'm just talking about from the automated environments or system, IT systems and everything. We are discussing these topics. We have already discussed these topics with respect to, normal audit points of view. Now we are discussing from the IT audit point. Let's say, for example, there's a system change or modification. System change or modification. I want to test this area, okay, by using data analytics. System modification and system change. I want to test this area by using data analytics. What procedure I need to do? Answer from this particular system point of view, if possible. Good, Sumit. Please do not use copy paste. Come on, guys. If I want to test this particular area, okay, system change and modification, how will I do by using data analytics? Good, Namrata, very good. Correct, Sumit. Good. Okay. So when I will be testing data analytics, okay, like using data analytics, what I need to do? First, I will understand which system I'm looking into, like for modification and change. What is a system? Whether it's a ERP, processing tool, access management tool, access management system. Okay, what kind of system it is, or it's a database system, database. What is the basically underlying thing that I am here required to check for? So the underlying system is first thing I will understand. Then I will understand, okay, what is the objective of my testing? Okay, why I want to test, what comfort I will be getting by testing the system changes or access to the system modification. So what is the objective of system modification or change test? Like what comfort I will get, what comfort or assurance I will be getting from testing this particular area. So I could say what is the objective of performing this testing. Then once I understand, okay, this is my objective, this is the system that I want to test, okay, this is the objective I want to test, or objective of this particular test I want to perform, then I will identify, okay, how can I test, basically what I need to do to perform the testing. Okay, if I want to test system change and modifications, I need a change log. So any data to perform data analytics, any data that I can get from system. If yes, then format of that data. Basically, data to perform data analytics. And when I say format of that data is very important. What if you are getting, okay, there has been change and modification, but you are not getting what was the change or change done by whom in the report? Then that report is waste. I need to have certain columns in the report so that I can perform the testing appropriately. Once you identified, okay, this is the data I need, this is the data in this format I need, take it, extract it from the system. Who has stopped you? So extract the data, get the data from system. If you don't have access, get the access and get the data. Fifth, once I'll get the data, okay, it is IPE, information produced by the entity through IT systems. And as we discussed, if there is an information that is being produced by the entity through IT systems, I need to verify that. So verify IPE through IT systems. We have already discussed that how to verify. Till the time I don't have a comfort that the data that is coming in front of me in a particular file is the data which is there in the system and is the data that is correct. Okay. Parameters, input, output, everything. Till that time I cannot use that data. Sixth, once I'll verify completeness of the IPE, then what I need to do is I need to apply the objective or criteria that I decided in second. So I will apply this. What was the objective of system modification and change? To identify any unauthorized changes. Okay. If that is the thing, I will apply that logic. Okay. At this particular point in time, when I'm talking about 2, I define what is unauthorized change. Okay. Then only I can define, okay, this is unauthorized change. I want to identify these type of unauthorized changes. I will define the criteria that I want to, look for. And I'll apply the criteria. Defined into step 2. Once you apply the criteria, you will get certain results out of that. You will get something, okay, output of the data analytics. Once you get the output of the data analytics, you need to validate the output, whether the criteria that you have applied is correctly applied or not. So validate the output. Okay, fine. I have validated the output. I have applied data analytics correctly, and the output which is coming to me is good. Now you have identified some errors in data analytics, like identified some, unauthorized changes. Errors in the sense means you identified misstatement. For that, you need to see, okay, if this is a misstatement, then go to the system, check, okay, this is unauthorized change or not, same appearing in the system or not. So if it is there in the report, that should reflect into the system also. So you need to confirm the result, whatever you are getting in your hand by performing the data analytics, whether the same is in the system or not. Usually it should be, because you have already performed the IPE, you have already verified the IPE, and whatever there is in your report is there in the system also. But again, it is advisable to confirm the results. And then, simple, you need to document whatever you have got. Document and conclude whatever, the purpose and objective of your testing was. Based on that, you need to conclude whatever conclusions you have reached. So this is how you can apply data analytics. Any doubt? Correct, Namrata. Very good. So this is how you can actually apply data analytics when you are, going for system change and modification. I hope it is clear. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? So there are certain more areas I have with me where you can apply CAD, computer aided auditing techniques or data analytics to gather the evidence or to perform that particular information from that particular step of testing. For example, exception identification. You can use to identify exceptions in transaction based on set criteria. You can perform control analysis, whether the controls have been working as prescribed or not. Error identification, error in the data. Let's say, for example, you have an IP, you want to identify whether this IP is correct or not. You can perform data analytics and use CAT over there to identify inconsistent or erroneous particular data. Statistical sampling, fraud detection, we have already seen, to identify fraud patterns. Verification of the calculations. Okay, existence of the records where you have a null values or something within the system, completeness of the data, consistency of the data. Like, for example, there is a product. Okay, you have obtained a list of sales. Now you can apply data analytics just to see, okay, this product is being sold with the agreed price only, or as per the price list only. There is nothing, something, a product being sold outside the price list. Duplicate payments, undeserved discount for rapid payments, excess discount, obsolescence of inventory based on aging. Okay, account exceeding the authorized limit, accounts having more outstanding balance than their credit limits, overdue invoices. So these are certain areas where you can use again data analytics or CAD to perform some more testing and to gather more evidence. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? I hope your concepts are now a bit much more clear on these topics. See, when I talk about auditing in special and automated environment, you have to apply the standards. It's the base only. You need to apply those concepts that you have learned for the normal auditing with respect to by modifying bit into the automated environments. Now going forward, okay, day by day, you are seeing a trend that more and more IT systems, more and more automations, more things are coming into the picture. And when you go for audit, there are scenarios where you won't be able to see anything, just a screen with the data. Okay, trust me, we have faced that scenario where we can get directly the output. We even don't see what is there behind the system. What is the logic? What is the things which are working behind the system? We just see the output. At that point in time, it becomes very much difficult to validate the data, to validate the systems, to validate the ITGC. So applying the concept, the basic concepts with bit of modification will help you to understand that how you need to carry the audit in such environments. Okay. I hope I have, clarified certain of your concepts and doubts in this scenario. Any doubt, guys, any doubt, ask freely. Trust me, it will enhance your understanding about the topic. Also, from next session, which is on 9th August, okay, we are starting practical question session where we will be discussing suggest past papers, mock test papers, RTP questions, okay, other questions which are available, some new questions of all the topics. It will not be restricted to any topic. Number two, I will be discussing, or we will be discussing, on how to answer a particular question. What are the things you need to consider while answering a question? What are do's and don'ts of, writing an answer? So we'll be discussing that also in those particular sessions. So please, be ready, because we will be discussing all the topics. It will not be restricted to a particular topic. So those will be very, very, very important sessions. Okay, these 3 sections, 9th, 11th, and 16th of August. If you have any query, you can ask here. If you can mail it out, or I think you have the details where you need to mail your queries. You can also, ask in the lecture. Okay, so there are multiple ways you can ask your queries. There is, I think, ask your query section also on your app. So by these ways, if you'll ask your query, we will be answering your queries. Okay. Okay, if no further doubt, guys, thank you very much for participating in today's lecture. I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you.